Do you think that, he's doing justice with his approach to tariffing India? Do you believe that the actions taken by Trump, they're Christian in nature, or is he posing to be a Christian to gain public sentiments in his favor? We sort of understand that considering his flamboyant past, things that he has said.
That's a general question, right? Be a little bit more specific.
For sure, for sure. How do you view Trump's history, his admitted womanizer behavior, those controversial comments about his daughter Ivanka, his documented connections to Jeffrey Epstein, including fights on his jets? Like, do you think Trump is Christian?
Is Trump a Christian? Only Trump can answer that. Whether people like it or not, the rules are going to be laid down and we are going to have to follow them whether we like them or not. Or you will be killed for believing a certain thing. In this sense, we will be killed for believing truth.
Hey, George. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How about you?
Excellent.
Looking very nice, by the way. The entire
Thank
beard,
you.
man, I'm telling you, that is going so well with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to look like a yogi. My hair won't grow that.
Yeah, but it's definitely your look, man. I'm telling you, that is definitely your look. Definitely coming along
Thank
for
you.
sure. And we are ready to talk to a 25 years old veteran, right? Like you've served in the military for 25 years, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, correct. I both in the Air Force and the Army.
So let's do it officially. Let's do it officially, okay? For anybody who's watching you for the first time and who does not know about Veterans Corner, please introduce George.
So hi, I'm George Hinistrosa. I am veteran. I served 25 years in both the Air Force and the Army, 8 years in the Air Force and 17 years in the Army. And been married for 40 years. And I have a podcast, Veterans Corner, where we try to bring to light veterans who have started businesses after the service and are progressing and are being successful. And we want to bring those stories to light to help other veterans that may be transitioning from the service and may be wondering what to do next. Mm-hmm. So it's just another resource for veterans and try to highlight some of the veteran successes that we have.
Amazing. Really appreciate that. Is actually a very important thing that veterans need these days, right? Like people who are transitioning for sure, right? So with that said, George, as a U.S. Army veteran, speaking to an Indian host, what are your opinions about Trump, and do you think that he's doing justice with his approach to tariffing India, threatening up to 500% under the sanctioning the Russia Act, as pushed by Lindsey Graham for buying Russian oil, especially when U.S. Is still importing nuclear fuel? We are starting strong for sure. It's a strong question, I know.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it?
So that's a good question. And it's definitely one that people really should do a personal research into. But I will give you my opinion from my research, right? My research. And obviously these questions you're asking me now. But I guess what I have to say about that is that for the longest time, tariffs have been imposed from country to country. So this thing that the United States all of a sudden has started tariffs in the first point, so it's like there's two questions in your question. So let me take the first part. Tariffs is something that has always been used in trade, always, by all countries. As a matter of fact, before 1900, the U.S. was strictly 100% only tariffs.
Okay.
There was never any tax imposed on the American citizen. No income tax, none of these taxes. It was strictly 100% tariffs. This was before 1900 was the epoch or the time where the United States was the most affluent and the richest in history. As a matter of fact, they were so rich and so affluent that they didn't know what to do with all the money. Okay, that's one point I'd like to make. So tariffs have always been part of the United States policy. This is not something new with Trump. Okay. Secondly, after 1900, around 1913, 1914, there was a third central bank that was initiated in this country, a third one, because there had been two banks that had already been dissolved by prior presidents. I don't want to get into the whole history because we'll be here for 5 or 6 hours.
Right.
But I just want to give your audience a kind of a background on where this whole tariff thing comes from. So prior to 1900, US was 100% tariffs. Past 1900, guess what? Corruption and the people that think deeply into control came in and decided that they were going to change all of that. And they started passing certain amendments and things where they created a third central bank. I already mentioned that there was 2 central banks in this country that were dissolved because of the corruption. Mm-hmm. Now enter the third central bank. And if the audience wants to read a book that outlines all of these things and who was involved in all that, I believe it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. The Creature from Jekyll Island. And that reporter puts a lot, and he names names and who all were involved in creating this third central bank that we now call the Federal Reserve, right? And just for the knowledge of your audience, the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity, right? Just like Federal Express, the mailing company, is not part of a federal. So the Federal Reserve is a conglomeration of international bankers that have some kind of agreement with the United States government, but they are so-called independently making their own decisions to some extent. This is why they've never been audited. So we won't go any further into that. So going forward, this whole tariffs thing from 1914 to the present day, there were no tariffs. Really, the United States stopped the whole tariff thing. And we have gone into an income tax thing where now we see that this whole model of banking is a debt-based model. The model is in debt people, right? And over time, people we're mortgaging our lives, really, is what has been going on, right?
Right.
So that's all I want to say on that. People can do their own research on that. So, but the point is that you're saying, so why the United States would be tariffing India, right? And
500%, that's so.
Well, see, that hasn't started, right? That is just a mention that has not started. That has not even, it may have been mentioned,
it's a thread.
But that's not started.
Right.
Right. But here's the thing, right? The whole point where this whole tariff thing and how Trump is using it is to try to bring some type of, this is my understanding, personal understanding. He's trying to bring equilibrium to the world trade, right? Because if we go back 2 or 3 decades, we know that India, and you can do your own research on this, India was tariffing the United States as high as 300%. We know that Harley Davidson was tariffs at 100%. We know that the agricultural products coming from the United States into India were tariffed anywhere between 100 and 130%.
Oh, wow.
And so, as a matter of fact, for your Indian viewers and for the world viewers, India was coined the Tariff King because they were imposing the highest tariffs in the world to the United States. Okay? So let's just get that straight, right? So we have to. So another thing that we should also keep in mind is that what we hear in the news and how we select what we listen to in the news has to be dissected very carefully because there is a war on for the mind. There is a psychological operation and has been going on for thousands of years. But ever since the advent of television, ever since the advent of video and media, there has been an ongoing war for the control of people's minds, whether it's for power, whether it's for commerce, whether it's for religious purposes. There has been a war on for the mind. And then we have Hollywood, and we have the music industry, and we have everything else that is that floods your mind day in and day out, right? Is a battle to control your mind. And so we have to be very careful how we when we hear something in the news, is it real? Is it an opinion? Is it a point of view? Or, right, what is the real underlying reason that they want people to see this? It doesn't mean that it's true just because it's said or because the TV said so. Right. So let's keep that in mind. So again, going back to your question is, do I think it's correct for Trump to do that? You know, he's trying to be fair. We've been tariffed, and it's not just India that has tariffed us in the past. Canada was tariffing us as high as 250% on agricultural and, for instance, dairy products, for instance, right? So we may tariff Canada 10, 15% for something, and they're tariffing us 200, 250%, or whatever it is, right? I don't have the exact numbers, but it's a very high tariff. And so we are owed billions and billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars from all countries because we have allowed, or the United States has allowed, for all products to come in. We are the biggest consumer in the world. We are the biggest consumer. Everyone wants to trade with the United States. Right. So there has to be a balance. There has to be an equilibrium, right? So I'll just leave it at that because we can go very deep into all of these things.
Right.
But again, just for your Indian viewers, India was coined the Tariff King because they were tariffing the United States as high as 300%, 100% on Harley Davidsons, right? So, yeah.
Brilliant. So I just want to take a minute and tell all our viewers that George is actually a PsyOps guy. He was actually in PsyOps. So, George, would you like to tell our viewers when you were in your role and in your service, what things have you experienced so that our viewers sort of understand what PsyOps actually means?
PsyOp is just psychological operations. It's just winning the hearts and minds. It's trying to help progress the world as we know it in a way that correlates with some of the United States foreign policies, right? And it's not my policies. So I defend the Constitution. I defended the Constitution. My oath was to defend the Constitution and uphold it against foreign and domestic entities or players or people, right? So that's my oath as a service person. And that's all really. I'm very proud to be an American veteran. This is the greatest country, I believe, in the world. I think we have the greatest military in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think our history speaks for itself. And I believe that this is why everyone wants to come to the United States. I don't see people breaking down the doors to go to any other country. People want to come here for a reason, right? Because we stand for something. And I think this is, as the Constitution of the United States, as I mentioned, this is what I swore to defend. Right. So my point of view is going to be, I don't want to say biased, but I do, and I did swear, and not swear, but I took the oath of defending this Constitution.
Right.
My psychological operation background is just that. It's just a background, and it was my job. I have nothing to do with what's going on in the world, obviously, because I follow orders. My job was to follow orders and do what I had to do at the time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So the second part of the question was especially, when US is, taking fuel from Russia, clear fuel, to be very specific. So what's up with that? You're charging India 200%, 500% traffic.
So the question was, to begin with, what is my opinion on Trump doing this?
Right.
So let's clarify again, right? Let's clarify. Did Trump start that importation of nuclear fuel from Russia? Did Trump? Who actually did it? I believe it was other people in the government. And this goes back into the 1990s, where both Presidents Bush and both Presidents Clinton agreed and supported that, right? So this is not something Trump started. This is something that has been going on since the 90s that was agreed to and put into place by other administrations. Now, I believe that treaty or that agreement, I believe it's called megatons to megawatts. I believe is what that treaty was coined, megatons to megawatts. I believe it's due to be over in 2028.
Yeah, 2028.
But this is not something that Trump started, right? This is something that was started back in the 90s. So we have to, this is not something against India. And I believe that if we look at this, the whole point is because of the thing that may be going on in the Russian region there with Ukraine. If India is, say, for instance, importing crude oil from Russia,
right,
and then the United States is trying to quell or try to stop the killing that is going on in that region, supporting anything in that region, whether it's Ukraine or Russia, it's going to foment maybe an ongoing thing. So these sanctions and these things are, I believe, designed to pacify what is going on in the region, right? And so by any country, not just India, any country that would support either of those sides when
Europe?
there is a sanction,
How about
right?
Europe?
Europe or whoever. Yeah, and Europe, whatever. If Europe is supporting Ukraine or Russia is whatever, right?
Europe is buying a lot of oil from Russia, just to let you know, for their energy
So
demands,
again,
right?
but here, this is a funny thing, right? So Europe is buying a lot. They're coming in the back way and buying all this oil from Russia, right? But at the same time, they call Russia the boogeyman, right?
Right.
So ever
Exactly.
since World War II, let's understand something. In World War II, Russia, I believe, was the biggest and most powerful ally that we had. I believe they lost millions of soldiers in World War II. They were an ally of the United States. After World War II, for some reason, right, unknown to me, they became the boogeyman.
Right.
Right? This is Russia is bad. Russia is bad. Russia is bad. Russia is bad. But I've never seen that Russia has done anything like worldwide. Has Russia taken over any other country? Has Russia
Right.
done any? What is happening in Ukraine, I believe, is very similar to what has just happened in Venezuela or to what has been going on with Cuba. Right? Cuba, which is right here. They have a different. There are different players from Europe and from that part of the world that are playing and have been playing in the background and the backyard of the United States, which is
Right.
Cuba, South America, Central America, whatever. Right?
Right.
I'm not an economist. I'm not a politician, so I can only talk from what I know. So this whole thing is just there is an imbalance right now in the world. Things have been allowed to get out of proportion, out of control, right? Not to mention drugs and trafficking and all these other things that we see that
Really
have been
bad
going
stuff.
on.
Right.
That stuff has been going on for thousands of years. This is not something that started before Trump took office, right? This has been
Right.
going on, and it's just an ongoing thing. So
So
I don't know if that. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
that
ahead.
absolutely answers my question. Now, to your point, Trump actually what he did, and when he says that there would not be a Russia-Ukraine war if I were the president, he's actually accurate. And I just want to.
Let me add one more. Let me add one more.
Mhm.
Sorry, Ankush. Let me add one more point. I believe that it's clear that I believe that the president of the United States has been repeatedly saying that he wants to mitigate any dependence on any country for either natural resources or oils
Right.
or whatever, what have you. He's trying to mitigate that to the best of his. You know what I'm saying? Oil, precious minerals, rare earths,
Right.
whatever you call it. There's a lot of moving parts right now, a lot of things going on. So I believe that, again, going back to this buying nuclear fuel from Russia or whatever it is, I believe that he is trying to mitigate all of that. And this is why we see the production now of oil started back in the United States. We see natural gases starting to be shipped and exported. A lot of things now that are changing. So we can look at the past, but really we have to look at the present and what the future plan is, because what it has been in the past is rapidly changing in our very future right now, actually in the present, right? So we just have to keep an open mind on all these things, right?
Absolutely.
How is it going to benefit India?
Right.
Does Trump and the president of India have a good relationship, which I believe they do,
They do.
right?
They do.
So these are the things that we have to look at. Not everything
Absolutely.
is as it seems. Sorry for the interrupt.
No problem. No problem. So I just wanted to share this with our viewers that when Trump says that there would not be a Russia-Ukraine war if he were the president, he's actually very accurate in that, because Russia was very clear, don't let certain countries be a part of NATO. And Biden sort of allowed that to happen by letting Ukraine be a part of NATO, or getting things in that direction also, because Putin was very clear, don't let that happen, because that is too much of a threat for Russia also, right? So from that standpoint, I understand Russia also, and I understand that when Trump says that there would not be a war, he's actually stating a fact. There would not have been a war if he would have chosen, because if Trump was president, he would not have chosen to give Ukraine the NATO powers, right? Like to be a part of NATO. Now, with that said, the core ideology and philosophy and the problem here is the expansionist mindset that Russia possesses also, right? Russia wants to get back to that USSR stage where they had a lot of countries, and Russia clearly has a very expansionist mindset, right? Like they want to increase their border, they want to gain more borders. Now, when they have gained some territory in Ukraine, now they don't want to lose that also, and that is a part of their peace talks also now, right? Like if they want to peace, hey, we are not going to leave these areas that we have acquired in Ukraine. So although when we point fingers at Russia for having an expansionist mindset, also begs the question that isn't USA also starting to do that now with Greenland or
my question first before I answer the USA part is when we say that Russia has an expansionist mindset, over the last 3 or 4 or 5 decades, I mean, I'm 60 years old. I don't see that Russia has expanded into any country.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. So this whole point of that Russia has an expansionist, I think they have enough land that they cannot even manage the amount of land that they have, first of all. Second of all, I would say in my limited knowledge that Ukraine as a country has a lot of Russian pedigree, right? And there's a lot of Russian people that either immigrated there or that have ties and family back in Russia. Ukraine is not wholly, and when I say holy, I don't mean holy as in religious, but holy as in only Ukrainians, right? So there's always been a Russian influence there. There was a very good interview last year sometime where Tucker Carlson actually interviewed Putin. And Putin actually went into the history of all of this. He says, what is the real history behind what is going on in Ukraine? And I would, to further answer that question more correctly, it's best to hear it from Putin's own mouth and Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson, if you check out Tucker Carlson, he has a very good interview with Putin, which lasted a couple of hours, and where they went very deeply into this history between Russia and Ukraine. And it'll be clearer to understand what exactly Russia would have on Ukraine or vice versa, right? So I don't think that everything is clear to people on that history. So I don't want to really go into that because I'm not an expert in that. I will say that there's things going on in Ukraine that if we really look into it, that shouldn't be going on in Ukraine. And we see again that Ukraine, 2005, during certain administrations, things happened in that country that were put into effect that I am not qualified to talk about, but there are things been going on in Ukraine for a very long time that people should do a little bit of research into that.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm going to say on that, because it's, I
get it. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to the video that you've just mentioned, Tucker Carlson and Putin, so that people can watch it. It'll be in the description for people to do their own research also on that subject. But another thing that I would like to point out, since we are going to talk about, United States is a predominantly Christian religion country, right? And that said, right now, do you feel or do you believe that the actions taken by Trump, are they Christian in nature, or is he posing to be a Christian to gain public sentiments in his favor? Let's just say that. Or his political advantage?
Is there anything specific? Is there anything that you can point to? That's a general question, right? And that's like asking 100%. Me, am I Christian?
Right.
Be a little bit more specific.
For sure. So from a Christian standpoint, where the Bible teaches one man for a woman and marriage, like in Matthew 19:4, 6, and how do you view Trump's history of multiple marriages, his admitted womanizer behavior, those controversial comments about his daughter Ivanka, like saying, if she weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her, which sounds very messed up to an Indian ear for sure, I can tell you that. And his documented connections to Jeffrey Epstein, including fights on his jets, mentioned in 2025 file release. Like, do you think Trump is Christian, or he's just using American people's faith as a weapon?
So that's a great question. Do I think Trump is Christian or not? Let me just go into answering that question with a little bit of context.
Right.
Be Christian in the time of Jesus was very controversial. And as a matter of fact, it was derogatory. The word Christian was imposed on, or not imposed, but was directed at the followers or people that were following Christ or doing the things in character and in deed, and the fruits of their actions were Christian. So there go the Christians, or there the Christians, or there the Christians. Actually, Jesus was considered a cult. Following Jesus was considered a cult.
Okay.
Christianity was not a cool thing like it is today, right?
Right.
Today, we're Christians, right? Let's clarify what Christians mean. What Christian means. A Christian is someone who acts like Christ. This is where the word comes. Not who follows Christ, who acts and has the character of Jesus Christ. Not who follows. I could follow Christ and call myself a Christian, but in the background, what am I doing?
Right.
Right.
True. Absolutely.
So, and like Paul said, of all the sinners, I am the chief. Paul the apostle, he says, of all the sinners in the world, I am the chief sinner. So I put myself in that category. I am not, I'm not saying that I am who, I would like to believe that I am a Christian. I would like to believe that I'm working towards that goal.
Okay.
Like Paul in the Bible says, it's a marathon, right? And we have to strive to the finish line. We have to finish the marathon, not fall out halfway through. Is Trump a Christian? Only Trump can answer that, first of all. Only Trump can answer if he is a Christian or not, because he will have to give account to the Creator one day. So I am not, it's like you. If you say you're Christian, why should I criticize you? I don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what I'm thinking. I could say I'm a Christian and I'm thinking, well, whatever. I could think so many things
about
deep inside.
Right, but your actions speak louder than words, right? Like your actions do speak louder than words.
So exactly. So let's take Trump, for instance, right? So you asked me about Trump. Trump has been married, I believe, 3 times.
3 times.
I believe he had a child with the first, 3 children with the first marriage, 1 daughter, I believe, with the second marriage, and a son now with his latest marriage.
Right.
So Trump, I believe, and he has his family surrounding him all the time. So I believe that as a father, he has taken care of his offspring. His offspring are doing well, right? The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Right.
A wise man, this is from Proverbs in the Bible. A wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So to your grandchildren, right? As far as I can see, I see that Trump has a family. He's a family man. He's a grandfather. He's taking care.
He's a family man. It's a very strong.
He has very strong. To ask me if he is a Christian or not a Christian.
To your understanding, considering.
Did he say what he said about his daughter? I don't know. I heard this back in 2016 when he became president, that someone said this, and and they tried to make it like he was.
I can actually play that video if you want.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, right? I haven't seen it. I don't understand. I don't know if that's exactly what they were referring to. So I cannot comment on that. I cannot comment on that. Okay? So let's just leave it at that.
Let's just say that if he said it, because I have videos, which of course I can put links in the description, or if we want, we can look at it right now. But, he has actively said that on a show, where he was invited as a guest. Even the host said that is actually messed up. That is a very weird thing to say. So you haven't seen it, but I can assure you that he did say that. There is another instance where a girl who has accused Trump of, meeting Trump in the Epstein Island, and woman has said that he asked her to wear a wig, which is of blonde color. And said that, because his daughter was around 13.
So let's go into this Epstein Island thing, right? First of all, Trump has never been implicated and has never, as far as the Department of Justice in this country has mentioned, he's never been to that island. Okay? That's the first thing. I mean, I don't know, right? But this is, as far as the Department of Justice is concerned, or what have you, he's never been implicated on the island. Actually, people have, they've interviewed people where they've said that, no, Trump has always been a gentleman. He's never done anything to that. And this is I'm talking about just a few weeks ago. This was in the news, right? So this is not me saying it. This is what I've heard. Trump has never really been implicated with ever going to Jeffrey Epstein's island. This is something controversial, and I think that it's going to come out very soon. These things with Jeffrey Epstein are right now, it's like a hot topic. So I'm not going to comment on any of that directly, but I can tell you that I believe that he flew on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane about 6 or 7 times. And it's documented that each time that he flew on the airplane, he was either with his daughter or with his son or with his wife, even to the point where they were flying with his nanny and the whole family, right? And these were flights from his house in Florida to New York, or from his house to Washington, D.C. and back, or, and that was it. That's all that's documented, right? And this is coming from the sources that have disclosed this information. I'm not an investigator, and I have never investigated into that, but this is what I can read for myself, right? What is evident on in online. So we have to be very careful when we say things, because hearsay. There are many people that are against this person or that person, and there's always two sides to the story. These things are very delicate, and so we have to respect, first of all, if you're innocent until proven guilty, at least in this country, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? We don't take hearsay.
We can't prove that right now that Trump is definitely guilty for sure.
Right. So this is not, if it ever happened, I'm sure it'll come out at some point, but it's not, as far as I'm concerned, everything that I've read in the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years or whatever, that has never happened. Right.
Right. So there is you see this girl, right? In the video, she was actually 13 years old, and she was asked to wear this